I wanted to discuss this idea about character change, and it is deeply wrapped up in this idea of changing one's identity. You see, when we do seek to change a particularly malicious part of our habits, let's say we are smoking, let's say we are drinking too much, let's say we are entertaining naughty videos on the internet, usually people focus on the third stage of that pyramid of character or action change, which is outcome. How do I change the outcome here? How do I change this particular insidious cycle that I have trapped myself in? When in fact, the primary source, the root, as it were, of that particular action change is identity change. You see, you will continue to fail every single time you try to remove these habits out of your life by just hacking at it like a drunken axeman. You need to find the why. You need to find the rationale. And then will come the process, and then will come the outcome. So there's three stages. There's first the identity, then there's the process or the system, and then there is the desired outcome that you wish so much you can integrate into your lifestyle. So let's first begin at the source of the problem, which is the identity. Many people will continue to fail again and again because they have not come up with a new identity that satiates that need for change. What do I mean by that? I mean that when you are trying to quit smoking, you have not identified with a non-smoker. You will say to yourself things like, oh, I am trying to quit. Trying to quit is from the identity of somebody who has not yet quit, and that is why they will continue to fail. A big topic I talk about on this channel is the prevalence of pornography. A lot of men are watching nowadays, and they will say to me the same thing: Joseph, it's so difficult. I'm trying my best. And I say that is why you fail, because you are trying, because you have not identified from an individual who does not watch these kinds of things, right? And I can see this is difficult, especially when every single man believes that every other man watches this kind of shit, which is simply not true. You have been belittled, you have been brainwashed into believing that this kind of habit is socially acceptable, socially normal, you could say. And that is why you will fail, because you have not just identified with that, but you believe the whole human race has identified in that. You have brainwashed yourself into a mediocrity, into degeneracy, you could describe it as. So let's talk about how we can start to shift our identity to that with a new one. And it all starts with, who is the person I would like to become? When you are considering changing an action, changing an outcome of your life, it should always begin with the question, why? And then I believe the greatest question, why, is because it is part of the process of the person that I am becoming. So whenever I am poised with a difficult question, I ask myself, is the greatest version of me, is the best version of me, is the person I would like to become consistent with the action that I'm going to take? And if the answer is no, then the answer is no. Of course, there is a couple bits and pieces of neurochemistry and psychology and so on and so forth involved in this process, such as the process of unwiring and rewiring new neurons to be able to create new neural pathways in order to instill better and greater habits in our lives. But it does not, that process cannot come if you haven't yet made love to self-reflection, awareness, presence. And awareness, presence, self-reflection, being conscious of oneself begins with understanding where that road is going to take you before you take the first step. You can't make that decision otherwise until you first come to the realization that if I take one step down this road, what am I to become? That takes critical thinking. And you can't critically think if you are constantly bombarded by distractions like me on your screen, or distractions, on the other side of the YouTube suggestions page. You have to actually just sit in silence for yourself and ask yourself the questions. Or I like creative writing. Just sit and write about what is your desired outcome from you yourself. You know, if you were going to treat yourself like somebody that you actually gave a fuck about, what would that outcome look like? Once you have gotten to the point where this becomes second nature, that self-preservation, that awareness, and also instilling some good meditative practices like meditation, like journaling, that can really help that introspection, you can start to integrate the systems that are going to allow you to crawl yourself out of that particular hole. So, for example, if it is a problem with maybe drinking, it is making that behavior difficult. It is very easy. It's very easy to continue to let's try that again. It's very easy to continue a behavior if the environmental constraints are not restricted. Meaning, if it's easy for me to walk to my fridge right now and get some beer, I'll probably do that. So I don't have beer in my fridge. You can make very small tweaks to the environment to make these things, more difficult. Make the good behavior easy, make the difficult behavior hard. It's an easy way to do that. And then with a couple of those, systematic changes in your environment, you will see how easy it is to be able to move yourself out of that particular insidious loop. Also, a lot of people, place a lot of attention on or too much difficulty on these kinds of things. And often that goes against your desired outcomes. If you have a perception that something is going to be difficult, typically you will make it so. Your psychology will make it so. But if you have a perception of things being easy, typically they will be so. Take smoking, for example. The withdrawals to smoking last 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Just take about 2 weeks without smoking. That's it. 2 weeks without a degenerate. What was the number of days? I think it's believed to be 21 days in order to build that new habit. 21 days. Your thoughts create things. They create the reality in which you live. So my earnest advice to you is stop creating difficult stories for you to live your life. If you create easier ones, then they'll be easier. God is a comedian. The universe is a comedian. And, you can only laugh when you realize it. But you have to realize it so. Anyway, gentlemen, I hope this was valuable. This was me just ranting for a little bit. Change that identity. And you'll see how easy the system and the outcome becomes. Speak soon.